Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Future Focused, Close Equity Gaps, Personalize Your Student Experience, and Improve Outcomes. My name is Karen Gonzalez, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager at the Myers-Briggs Company. We have two wonderful partners today from Santa Ana College and Tallahassee Community College, who we will introduce you to in a bit. But first, I'm going to go through some quick logistics on the next slide. The presentation will run for approximately 1 hour, and we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end. All attendees are muted, but please send in your questions through the questions function in the webinar controls. If you're having any audio issues, please try using the phone call option if you're using the computer speakers, or just try to restart the webinar. We are recording today's webinar, so we will be sending out a follow-up email that includes the recording and the slides. And lastly, please feel free to share your insights through Twitter. Please use @Macy and @Myers-Briggs EDU using hashtag NacyTMBC. And I'm excited to introduce you today to our moderator, Becky Corbin, CEO and President of Macy. And with that, take it away, Becky.
Thank you, Karen, and welcome to everyone. Depending on where you are in the country, it's either morning or afternoon, but we're very happy to be a part of this webinar today, and our deepest thanks to the Myers-Briggs Company and all of the support that they provide to thousands of people around the country looking at student success. So I wanted to begin with the first slide. For many of you who are Macy members, we wanted to send you a virtual hug and thank you so much for the work that you're doing every day. For those who are not familiar with Macy, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. We would love to have help you as a resource and connect you to others around the country. So as you look at the slide, you can see a map of the United States. So you can see that we have members everywhere. We are a nonprofit that was established in 2002 with a mission to promote entrepreneurial leadership and practice in the college classroom and in communities. And our headquarter office is now in Cary, North Carolina, in the Triangle area, where we have a total of Macy staff, some in Cary, some in New Jersey, Massachusetts, a total of 9 full-time staff members, and our board is scattered around the United States, innovative presidents doing very good work. So another component of what we do is provide centers of practice. So what we do is focus on issues such as equity, inclusion, and diversity. We focus on entrepreneurial mindset and student success. So we have members developing new resources. One of the things that we do is go out and get grant funding and try to really be forward-looking, which is what we're all going to be doing together today. So our support comes from partnerships that we have with corporations and foundations as well. So as we go to the next slide, I wanted to just touch on a few things in terms of the network. Those of you who may have been involved with Macy for many years can see that due to the membership really pursuing goals and kind of where we find ourselves in the world with a lot of challenges, we've been able to build out a very robust marketing and communication suite of products. We work fiercely to promote an innovative and flexible culture and have expanded not only our partnerships, but our thought leadership in terms of blogs that we write and promote around the country with our members, and also a book that we published last year that's gotten very favorable academic and reviews on Amazon. So just a brief note on the next slide about our corporate partnerships. One of the things that Macy is delighted to do is to join with corporations and other foundations and help them realize their mission as well. Sometimes it involves developing new curriculum. Sometimes it involves managing a program, as we do with the Verizon Innovative Learning Program. And it's really a win-win for our members and also for everyone in communities that benefit. So one last slide I wanted to share before introducing our first speaker is really looking at a solution for economic and social impact. This is a lot of the work that Myers-Briggs Company has been a champion for, which is looking at things through the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. So you can see in the yellow box, we have 340 entrepreneurial colleges. A good chunk of them now, a growing segment, about 10%, are historically Black colleges and universities and minority serving institutions. So we're impacting about 3.3 million students in about 45 states. So in a nutshell, what we do is we leverage college membership and national programs. We fund projects, we provide detailed reports to funders in terms of impact, and then we work to share stories. So it's a perfect segue to introduce our first speaker, Maria Aguilar Beltran, who is the Faculty Equity Coordinator at Santa Ana College. She does a lot of really cutting edge work using guided pathways, and I'm excited, Maria, to hear what you have to share with us today.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here and to share with all of you the work that we have been doing with Guided Pathways at Santa Ana College and the journey that led us to use VitaNavis at our campus, as well as the work that we've done thus far. Next slide, please. So let me start with sharing with you the Santa Ana College Guided Pathway structure. This fall, we will be officially starting the 4th year of our Guided Pathways implementation work. When we started the Guided Pathways work, I was initially the co-lead to the entry team because at that time I was the faculty coordinator overseeing the assessment center. The assessment center at our college has been historically responsible for placement testing, orientations, and also supporting the early decision efforts, which is when high school students come to our campus to register for classes. Our structure for Guided Pathways consists of an executive team, a core team, which includes co-leads from each of the design teams, and a broader committee that was mostly used as a way to keep the entire campus engaged and connected with the Guided Pathways work. In 2018, we started with 6 design teams: advising, communication, mapping, student support, academic cluster, which was responsible for designing our meta majors, which we ultimately ended up calling career and academic pathways at our college, and the entry team. The entry team was responsible for deeply exploring how we would help students enter the path. We did this by first understanding our students' experiences with our matriculation steps. We identified 14 steps at our campus when we started this work. We also reviewed the data we had about students, such as how many students applied after and after applying did not continue with any other steps. We also looked at the major students were identifying during the application process, which was mostly accounting and liberal studies, and you can imagine why. And ultimately, we also needed to make a recommendation of how we would help students have a better sense of their major before they applied to the college. And this is where our entry team explored VitaNavis and other tools. And after closely considering the features, the data capability, maintenance, and most importantly, student feedback, we decided to recommend VitaNavis as our onboarding tool. And so by 2019, our 6 teams had shifted from design to implementation teams, and we replaced academic clusters with a data team. So this second year, we worked on the logistics of the implementation of our revamped onboarding experience for students. Next slide. And so our vision depended on the work that was done by the academic clusters team, and they came up with 7 career and academic pathways after extensive work across the campus and with students. We came up with a tagline and added some of our majors. And so I won't go over all of them with you, but just to share a couple, STEM, and that included computers, math, and science. We have people, idea, and cultures, which includes our humanities, social science, and languages, and so on. And so we've come up with 7 career and academic pathways, which we call CAPS. Next slide. We also added an 8th career and academic pathway, which is our School of Continuing Education, and it actually supports all the 7 career and academic pathways from the previous slide. And so the logo for our School of Continuing Education is the 3 blue arrows that are on the screen. And we are really happy that we were also able to launch a website, a Pathways website. And I have included the link there for you to explore at a later time. It automatically embeds the access code to sign up for VitaNavis so that students could take the Super Strong. And I encourage you to look at it when you have a moment after this workshop. And so the next slide. Once we had all these pieces together, this is when we were ready to pilot and start using this tool to its maximum capacity. So during 2018, when our entry design team was exploring the various tools we had looked at, our campus had already purchased VitaNavis, but initially to mostly use in our career exploration courses. Some counselors started using it during their sessions with students, and our undecided program also began to use it. So the first year, its usage was really low. We may have gotten maybe a little over 1,000 students that took it. But in 2019, the entry team began to implement the guided pathways changes we recommended. And so we started by leveraging the partnerships that we had with our local districts, such as SAUSD and Garden Grove. We were already going to the high schools and doing presentations on multiple measures and informing students of the changes with placement testing. We help students complete the SAC application and financial aid application. So we leveraged those workshops, and ultimately high school students will come to our campus in April to do our early decision experience, which includes an orientation. They meet with a counselor and get a 2-semester educational plan, as well as register for classes. The second year we had VitaNavis, we changed the presentations we were doing in the high schools on multiple measures and actually focused them on the Super Strong. We had over 2,500 high school students who took the Super Strong, and this was our way of getting buy-in from the local high schools and introduce them to the changes that we would make for the following year. So for the first year, it was mostly optional for the students to take the Super Strong, and we got really good feedback from the schools, which helped us make the changes for the following year. So our onboarding process officially changed for fall 2020, and now the Super Strong is our first step of the onboarding experience. And with our partners, it is a step that we actually have them do. But for the rest of the campus community, it's a recommended step, or for any potential incoming students, it's a recommended step. We made changes and collaborated with the outreach office at our campus to develop a workshop to help our students have a better sense of their major before they apply. And we had over 4,000 high school students participate and take the Super Strong starting in October 2019. We were excited that our first reiteration of our Pathways website was created. And as I mentioned earlier, it includes access to VitaNavis. And so this was made publicly available to our entire campus community, as well as potential students and people in the community earlier this year. And when I last checked, we now have over 18,000 people that have taken the Super Strong, which has been a drastic change from our first year. We also launched a campaign under Guided Pathways to use the Super Strong campus-wide. And thus far, we have done various workshops throughout the year that include our Student Success Conference, also known as SAC Days for us, our Career and Academic Pathways Fair, Transitions Conference with Continuing Education, which was very successful. And this has given us an opportunity to offer VitaNavis to all our students, including continuing students and non-traditional student groups. And we are working on expanding resources for students that are not coming directly from the high school, who can also benefit from using this tool prior to applying to college. And then lastly, we're also collaborating with a group of math faculty that are exploring Super Strong as part of culturally responsive andragogy approaches to teaching their statistics courses. And so we're looking forward to getting data and promising practices from their use. And a few lessons thus far that we're in our third year of using VitaNavis that I wanted to share with you is 3 things. You know, I think the first thing that was really critical is getting the buy-in, and it was very time consuming, of course. So to share a couple of examples, our first year we purchased a platform. Our counselors went from using the Strong Interest Inventory to Super Strong, and we needed that whole year to process the questions and make concerns that they had. And so in our entry team, we also had a wide representation of administrators, faculty, and classified staff across the campus, including non-credit, and we had to do the same thing. And as team membership continues to change, we keep doing this work, and it really keeps us on our toes because it's nice to have a new set of eyes looking at what we're doing and asking some really great questions. The second thing is navigating our own bureaucracies and our systems also took a lot of time. I remember asking the VitaNavis team how long it would take to personalize our page with our career and academic pathways. And they had such a quick turnaround of less than a week, but we needed more time in our system to prepare for things, talk to different people, and get all the levels of approval that we needed. So that was really helpful for us to think about for the future. And then lastly, having spaces to continue to process the feedback about the VitaNavis platform and how we're using it, as well as share the with the VitaNavis team, ways that we're recommending for it to be improved. They're always very receptive, and they have been helpful to our institution as we continue to shape the use of this tool with our guided pathways and equity efforts. And then the last slide is really to show you how we embedded the step of using the VitaNavis platform and having students take the Super Strong as part of our new guided pathways onboarding steps. And so I just wanted you to see the visual of what that looked like for us. And this is what we were sharing with the high school students. And we also have another version on our website that's recommended for any student who wants to apply to SAC. So that is all I have to share with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maria. That was really insightful. I think, from my experience working on a community college campus for many years, being in charge at one point of career services, among other things, I think what you said that resonated with the group is really that data is power. What we measure matters, and I think you said that very well. And I think in terms of the buy-in and being aware of bureaucratic challenges that I'm sure everyone on the phone understands with large institutions. One of the things that we've been looking at Macy is really that opportunity with all the disruption to our lives and challenges that can seem overwhelming. A lot of times this is a perfect opportunity to really implement the changes that you would love to make. So if you are in an institution that is large like Maria's, I think they have 18,000 students, or you are in a smaller institution or a complicated system, one of the things that I know we've benefited from, as Tallahassee has as well, so we'll hear from our next speaker, is really that level of understanding and the quick turnaround time, which is really important as you all work to get people on board. So we are going to transition at this point to a person that I have gotten to know very well over the last several years. I'm really excited to hear from her. Many of you know Madeline Kumariega is the former chancellor for the state of Florida, so really had a lot of impact in terms of a statewide presence, and has now taken on the reins as being the executive vice president and provost of Tallahassee Community College. So they are a very active member as well. She also was the one who really got Macy involved in publishing our first book, which is Community Colleges as Incubators of Innovation. So we're taking that thought leadership, which Madeline has contributed to, and converting that into a playbook, which is going to be coming to fruition in the fall to really operationalize some of the thought leadership. So I will turn it over at this point to Madeline Kumariega to share with us what's happening at Tallahassee Community College.
Thank you so much, Becky and Maria. Wonderful presentation. Here at TCC, very much like Maria talked about at Santa Ana, really trying to transform the student onboarding experience so that we could increase student success. At the college, we had, like many of your colleges, created guided pathways, certainly had redesigned our advisement processes. We had all these initiatives that we had taken under our wing and really prioritizing student success. But what we had not really focused on was that part on equity. And what we did this fall, and we can go to the next slide, we went ahead and said, okay, how do we redesign our student experience? And we conducted a series of design thinking sessions with our faculty, staff, students, leadership teams to look at what were the barriers, our own internal and external barriers that could be, contributing to our equity gap, or could make a student feel like they weren't having that sense of belonging and purpose. And so what came out of that, and it was really, if you're not doing it, I really encourage you all to do it. Rob Johnston you can do it through the lens of equity in your processes if you're focused on equity at your institution. We did, and each of the design thinking groups were able to put together prototypes of how they thought we could create a comprehensive model for serving our students that created those early connections, academic and career pathways, and most importantly, personalized support for students. And so what emerged was creating a culture of care. And we know how important those early connections, the work that we do in our middle and high school, non-traditional populations with employers, first year experience, first semester students, and developing those ways to early connect with them in a way that is personal and meaningful. And I think the Super Strong is a tool that gives us that opportunity. In terms of academics, creating, we are, like I said, a guided pathway college. So we had developed guided pathways for all of our associate programs through the state passed a bill to create meta majors in the state of Florida. So we aligned our guided pathways to those meta majors. And we also did those maps for our AS and CTE programs as well. And so how do we create those clear academic maps? But I think what was missing was this piece about personalized learning. You selected a major, but based on what? And I believe that the Super Strong assessment gave us, again, that tool to think about how do we make early connections based on a student's personal interest, and then how do we make sure that you're on the right path from the very beginning based on your strengths, interests, and values. And then also aligning resources, embedding holistic supports in every part of a student's path at the college. And so in there, we teamed up with Study Edge for personalized tutoring, especially in our math and science courses. We developed a series of programs from mental health counseling that we expanded. And then our Career Center aligned the results of the students' Super Strong to internship and job shadowing opportunities as well. And then engaging students in those affinity groups on campus. And again, the more that you know about your students, the more you can personalize that message. And we prioritize, as you heard me say, personalized learning, very similar to, in a way, your Uber experience, where you select, your location, where are you going, what vehicle you want to ride in, what preferences you may have, and you get from Uber, when will the driver arrive, how much will that cost, and when should you expect to arrive to your destination. And I think that part of the redesigning of the student experience we have in mind is really developing that type of experience for our students that is still grounded on academic excellence, on student success. We are laser focused on closing our equity gaps. And so that means, as Maria said, and as Becky said, the power of data and what we measure is what we focus. And we've looked at disaggregating all of our equity data, looking at it through meta majors, looking at it through the lens of pedagogy, and especially in this COVID-19 environment, we know that the students who we see have those gaps in success and completion are only going to be exasperated in this kind of environment. So we've been able to do things to close those gaps and bridge student success with academic excellence by engaging our faculty in programs like the Super Strong so that they understand their students that much more, and that students understand what their strengths are and what their interests, and then focused on economic and social mobility. So the next slide gives you a little bit about how we connected the upskilling in terms of the lifelong learning model, those resilience skills. And something that we're doing also with being future ready is that we've launched through our career technical education programs a series of programs that are future ready badging, those essential skills to earn the badges, and communication, teamwork, work styles, learning styles, resourcefulness, problem solving, leadership, dependability at work. And we began to really implement this not only in our traditional AA program pathways that you'll see shortly on how we aligned it with meta majors, but most importantly also in our workforce pathways. And there is certainly a really important time for us to be responsive to the workforce readiness aspect of our communities, especially as our country looks at community colleges for being those economic drivers of workforce and really economic drivers for the recovery of our economy. So teaming up with Myers-Briggs and really integrating the assessment from, again, the early connections to getting on the right path and staying on the path, providing those intentional support services, and then being ready for a job if you're in one of our CTE-AS pathways, or for transfer if you're in one of our TCC to FSU, TCC to FAMU pathways. And then in our next slide, how could we convey that to students, and what was the best way for us to do that? And so we really then created this document that's used in orientation. We redesigned our orientations where we put some of those nuts and bolts that are required to happen on a Canvas platform, and students can do that at their own pace on Canvas, get to know our Canvas platform through the onboarding process, and then really almost like flip a classroom and use the face-to-face part of the orientation or the Zoom aspect of the orientation to help students look at their super strong results and make a real informed decision in the academic community that they select. And those academic communities are connected to our meta majors, our pathways, both in AA and AS. And I think it's really transformed the way that we're looking at personalizing a learning experience for our students, while we are still focused on continuing to refine that comprehensive student services model, not this a la carte approach, but really having a comprehensive look at those early connections, academic and career pathways, as well as personalized supports. I also think this will help us provide a much better integrated and targeted support services for students. And as we employ this data into the teaching and learning techniques and teaching and learning excellence with our faculty, we believe this will also promote academic excellence and student achievement. And foundational to that is assuring that we continue to close our equity gaps, that we gather data on our outcomes in relationship to persistence and success, and transfer rates across all of our students at the college. And so that's what we've done here in really creating a culture of care at the college. And it really, again, started with looking at those personal and college barriers, developing strategies for student success, and then really identifying factors that contribute to student success. And it made the partnership and the tool was super strong, and Myers-Briggs just really perfect alignment to what we're doing. And so thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to any questions and continuing the work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madeline. You're doing such great work in the area, particularly the area that you serve. I thought what you said about equity and really what you created, I think, internally with the culture of care, which was really developed by applying design thinking and involving all of the stakeholders on your campus. I think that's a model that many other colleges may want to take a look at. And then when you figured out what you needed and you needed more data and assessment tools, you found, this wonderful opportunity that we're going to talk more about today. So thank you again to both of our speakers, and we're going to transition now to our next speaker. So it's my pleasure to introduce briefly Katie Calabrese, who is our Director of Projects and Member Services. Katie has a really rich background working on the non-credit side for a couple of New Jersey community colleges. She also worked hand in hand with Macy and now leads our internal project at the Verizon Innovative Learning Program, which now serves close to 4,000 middle school under-resourced girls and young men of color, teaching them about STEM and entrepreneurship, and Tallahassee Community College gladly is part of one of our new partners in that as well. So Katie, I know you have a lot of exciting things to share about some projects that you and Natasha Lavos have put together for Myers-Briggs, so I'll let you take it away from here.
Great, thank you, Becky. Good afternoon for the East Coast, and good morning still for the West Coast and everybody in between. I'm so happy to be able to speak with all of you today, and really this has been a partnership project that Natasha and I have been building for some time, and with lots of eagerness. We really could not wait to announce the details, the ins and outs, and the wonderful alignment that both the Myers-Briggs company and Macy have with a lot of you all and future members, and how you can really access some of these amazing, we've only scratched the surface on these two best practices from Madeline and Maria, and what those schools have taken two completely different approaches with a very common goal. And Macy and the Myers-Briggs have done the same. We have different ways of getting there, but we are all in it to win it with a very similar goal and mission in mind. So as Becky mentioned, my role of Director of Member Services and Projects at Macy is really to, peel apart our membership network and, what is the main focus of what Macy needs to do to provide you the best services and resources. So I have spent the last year really evaluating that and, listening to the member colleges, listening to non-member schools, listening to, organizations and nonprofits and businesses and, maker spaces and ecosystems, and what does everybody need? Higher education needs tools. They need accessible tools. They need free tools. They need the resources and the steps and, maybe sometimes even the nudge on like, where do you start in such a large, organization or a large company or a large school? Where do you start? Are you the person to start? Is leadership the person to start? So Macy really, takes a stance in providing their members with, very easy guided ways that you can get what you need, come to the Macy network, get all of the tools and get started right away. And this partnership is exactly that. So I want to share with you a press release that Macy and Myers-Briggs put together. That's just a quick overview of what our partnership really is. And it's everything I mentioned, but at a limited time, getting free access to the tools that both Madeline and Maria just described, getting access to the platform, understanding what it is, having a demo site that you can go in and check out without a commitment, being able to really take a look at like what your school is currently doing, where the gaps are, and what can you do to improve, and how to personalize that for you. And that's exactly what this partnership does. I am your very easy one-stop shop that I'm going to show you where you can go to get started. And then I'm going to pass it off. So Natasha is going to talk in a little bit more detail about all of those, free ways and easy ways that you can just, take your college assessment to the next level. So really quickly, I'm going to, just show you by going to the Macy homepage. We're at www.macy.com. Right on our homepage, I'm going to show you how to get started. And this is a partnership, so you want to scroll over to the partners, click on current Macy partners. And I wanted to point this out because I wouldn't want anybody to miss it. But down, if you scroll through the partnerships that Macy has in place, you will find that Myers-Briggs is right in the middle and ready to, all you got to do is click here. And this entire page provides all of the information, some details, and all the things that you can expect from this partnership. We've also provided some testimonials and feedback from some of our partner schools and what they have done and how they've implemented it, as well as the benefits. So the benefits of this partnership is really, is really important. So we are offering this limited time access to the free demo with a deep discount on long-term relationships to Macy members. So for those of you that are on the call and want to get started, you're already signed up as a member. I'm going to show you how to do that. For non-members that maybe want to learn a little bit more about Macy, again, we try to make it easy. You're going to get started in the same way. So all of you that maybe want to take the next step in learning more about this free demo and how to get signed on and more about VitaNavis and Super Strong, you're going to click right here on Get Started Now. When you click on Get Started Now, it's going to pull up a form that you simply just fill out your information, hit submit, and I will respond back to you in 24 to 36 hours. I will actually reach right out to you directly. Thank you for inquiring and ask you, some preliminary questions and set up a meeting right away with the Myers-Briggs team so that we can get you started. It's that simple. And this is both the same route for members and not members. I will also be available at the end of this call to take questions, but for right now, I'm going to pass it off to Natasha as soon as I get back to the main screen so that she can go through a little bit more in detail our partnership. And I just want to call out on the main screen, this is also a snapshot of what we're really trying to do here. And that common goal is really provide a service to you all that can really take, especially during this time and even more certain times and who knows, or more uncertain times coming in the future, we really want to be a resource to you to help you out in a virtual way. So I will pass it off to Natasha to talk a little bit more about this partnership.
Good afternoon and morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Katie. First of all, on behalf of the Myers-Briggs Company, I just wanted to thank all of our panelists and the considerable group of education leaders from across the nation for joining our webinar today and for sharing your time with us today. Our collaboration with Macy and our school partners like Santa Ana and Tallahassee are really key to our overarching mission to improve education, personalized learning, and providing equitable access for all. In addition to what Katie has kind of reviewed here today, we've of course gathered resources for you that she walked you through how to access. We'll follow up to this call as well and provide additional information on that. So in addition to our VitaNavis Workforce and Education Exploration platform, I wanted to really share our globally recognized and industry-leading professional development solutions as part of our joint offering in Macy with Macy. You can go to the next slide, please. Oh, you're already there, thank you. As part of that offering with the VitaNavis platform that Katie walked through and that demo access that we're providing to everyone on this call, NACY members and NACY non-members alike, we wanted to share as part of that, that is exclusive to the NACY partnership, the professional development and certification program, which is really a unique opportunity for your faculty and staff to gain insight on how to better understand not only their own strengths, interests, and values, but those of their students to help facilitate meaningful conversations and a more personalized student experience, especially with regard to the virtual new normal that we all find ourselves in today. You can go to the next slide, Katie. As part of the program, we hosted a recent certification that serves minority serving institutions across the nation, and we delivered professional development to hundreds of staff and faculty members with overwhelmingly amazing feedback from participants who shared 90% finding the experience to be extremely valuable to enhance current student engagement initiatives. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll follow up with some additional information on this, but wanted to, again, thank everybody on the call for joining us today. I'm going to transition this over to Karen, let her take some questions. We'll all be available here to answer those questions as well, and looking forward to speaking with all of you or hearing from any of you that may be interested in exploring our solution further. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Karen, take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to go through, we got several really good questions, so I'll just kind of start from the beginning here. So some of these questions were actually directed for Maria, Santa Ana. So one of the first ones we got was, how do you fund access to the Super Strong Assessment or VitaNavis more broadly, as you were kind of sharing all of that?
Okay, how do I find it more broadly? I'm sorry, I don't know.
How do you fund access? Sorry.
Oh, how do I fund it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So initially what had happened that first year is we do in our counseling career exploration courses have a materials fee that we have our students pay. And we had a little bit of an excess in our account. And so for that first year, we funded it with that money. And then it got picked up by the Guided Pathways funds that we received. I think it was 5 years that we received some funds. And so it's been paid through Guided Pathways after that.
Thank you. And Maria, you were also talking about the orientation. So the next question is this orientation online or face-to-face? And now with COVID-19, how are you performing these assessments for fall of 2020?
So when we started in 2019, they were in person, so we were visiting the schools, but we have changed our orientation to be an online orientation. And so students were doing the Super Strong workshop in person and then doing the online orientation. And then we actually had to move completely online to do the early decision or the registration and the advising piece. So moving forward, that's what we're going to continue to do in this time, is we can easily shift our presentation and have it be done through Zoom. So that's what we're working on right now.
Great. And then one more question. Do counselors debrief the Super Strong with the students formally?
So they can. Right now, our first reiteration of this is that we really wanted just to expose the students to the tool. And so we have come back to the schools with a counselor who has been able to do a little bit more of a group debrief with students. But our students also have the opportunity when they come to campus to talk a little bit more with our counselors, to also enroll in our career exploration courses, which are definitely having our students utilize the Super Strong, and so they get a deeper dive there, and then during also the counseling sessions. But we will have success teams at Santa Ana College, and we're looking at all these kind of practices and embedding, how we can support the student and really follow the student intentionally along their journey. And so that's something that we're still developing so that we can incorporate it.
Great. And I did just see a follow-on question to the last one. Have you had any reactions from students when you moved from face-to-face to online?
So far, the feedback that I've heard, it's, of course, students would prefer their classes to be in person, but what I've heard is, besides the frustration sometimes with the technology platforms not always working, it seems like students do appreciate being able to still connect with people online or via the phone, whatever we have to do to speak to them. So besides the technical frustrations that everybody, I guess, deals with, it seems like it's been working out okay.
Great, thank you, Maria. And the rest of the questions, I think Natasha and Liz are a little more general. So someone asked, how do students access
So I'll answer on behalf of the Myers-Briggs company unless Madeline or Maria want to touch on that. And I think they somewhat address that. So Maria mentioned workshops. Now they'll be virtual, but in-person workshops, typically students could scan a code to directly log on using their smartphone or tablet. She also shared that Santa Ana has a link on their website, so prospective students can access the platform via the link. It could be sent out in text or email format. And I think probably both Santa Ana and Tallahassee would have students who are currently enrolled or matriculated accessing through single sign-on through their portal, but I'll let them add if they have anything additional.
I just wanted to just add a quick note in there as well. Thanks, Liz. Just so students in general, we collaborate with our schools to figure out how students would access the platform, and that could be done in a number of different ways, as Liz mentioned, and as both Madeline and Maria have talked about ways that they've integrated into their own student success initiatives. So whether it's for admissions, dual enrollment, new student orientation, with career success courses, even for alumni, we design configurable processes and tasks lists that students can basically go through a number of activities, including taking the assessments within the VitaNavis platform or any of the other tools and activities within the platform that play into our overarching workforce and education exploration tools. So the answer to the question is it is configurable. We do work with you to help develop what that will look like. But certainly we have best practices and easy ways to stand up to allow students to access the platform and go through that whole process of self-realization and understanding themselves better, and being able to understand how that connects to their education pathways into the world of work in general.
Great, thank you. Another question is, it seems like VitaNavis is intended for prospective and freshmen primarily. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in many ways we start there, but no, honestly, we've even adopted, Madeline alluded to this when she was talking about the workforce development solutions that we're starting to collaborate with them and others with regard to, like, There Be Essential campaign, which speaks to displaced workers or workers looking to upskill themselves. So certainly adults and students alike, parents and adult mid-career workers, displaced workers. The platform is really designed to be a lifelong learning, education, and career exploration tool. So for everyone to be able to understand, how they relate to the world of work. What are their greatest strengths, interests, and values? How does that apply to their potential futures? So just as an example, and we work, in K-12 as we do in post-secondary and with workforce in general at a state and national level. But even in our K-12 partners, half of the assessments are often even taken by parents. So there's definitely an adult application there. I hope that answers your question. We do predominantly, when we start in higher ed, sometimes it often starts in new student orientation or student onboarding, but then we grow from there. And so it just really depends on the institution and the type of initiatives that you have in place.
I would just add a real quick note to Natasha's comments, and that is that while we've talked primarily today about the super strong, I think Madeline alluded to, there are other assessment tools available to help students beyond just that initial get on the path step. As well as we've built out tools that will help students based upon the experiences that they're gaining, the skills they're acquiring through internships, apprenticeships, work study, and other types of work or volunteer or co-curricular activities to be able to log those skills that they're acquiring and develop a portfolio that they can begin to share out. So there's more to the platform than just that initial step that helps students as they are in their second, third, and fourth year, depending upon what type of institution they're attending. So hopefully that's helpful as well.
I was going to suggest as well that people on the call, I think especially through this partnership, that you all consider taking the assessment yourself. I did it, and I don't know, 18 months ago or so. It took about 20 minutes, and I thought it was really an interesting way to think about it. Many of us have been long in our careers, but I was curious about, did I land in the right place? And how might that have affected my experience, early on. So I highly encourage people to take the time to do that. It's very interesting. I had my one of my kids take it as well, just to better understand it. But I wanted to just quickly make the point as well, getting back to the equity piece that Madeline and Maria spoke about, is one of the reasons that I'm very excited about this assessment platform and all these tools is that it really does drive equity from the standpoint, if we can get students to better understand careers where they would not only survive but thrive, and that naturally align to not only their skills and abilities but their interests and their likes, we're going to have a significant positive impact on students not wasting money on Pell and accumulating student debt, even in the community college, because they're going to be aligned from a much earlier standpoint. So that has really, I think, profound implications for developmental ed students that sometimes get discouraged. Some of our under-resourced students, we know, that don't have that traditional college. So I did not want to leave the webinar without just sharing with you that we have looked at this very deeply and really see just huge opportunities. So I just wanted to be sure to thank everyone who shared today, and particularly the Myers-Briggs team.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. One of the questions is, if we already use some of the Myers-Briggs other tools, can we get involved with partnering with you directly? And Natasha, I think this is directed to you.
Yes, absolutely. Many of our partners utilize the broad spectrum of the solutions and tools that the Myers-Briggs company as a whole offers. So we'd be happy to talk with you about what are you currently using, what's the best way to potentially also add, additional, tools and solutions from the Myers-Briggs company to your existing strategy. So we have those conversations pretty much all the time. Many of our institutions continue to do the traditional assessments and that more one-on-one deeper dive into personality and strengths and interests, and then have also, in tandem, the VitaNavis platform to scale it to broader audiences, and also have it be mobile ready and a tool that can be used throughout the lifetime of the student or adult user.
Great. And another question is from the same person, is how long is the certification training for Super Strong? I'm referring to the professional development slide that was mentioned. And is there an additional fee for that?
So it's part of the NACCE offering. There is not an additional fee for the professional development component that's part of this NACCE offering. So if you're a NACCE member, you get to take advantage of this. We're offering 3 trainings throughout the year that are, one is for Super Strong. It's a 3.5-hour synchronous or asynchronous, virtually delivered by our industry leading trainers and professional development team. So definitely it's a great and compelling offer for you to take advantage of. That you can join all of them. The other one is for CPI Student Success Profile. So we're doing 2 of the trainings that speak to that Get on the Path module within VitaNavis, and then that Stay on the Path module that includes that CPI Student Success Profile.
Great, and I think we have time for one more question. Our college is a Hispanic serving institution. Do you have other HSIs using VitaNavis, and is the VitaNavis available in Spanish?
Yes and yes, absolutely. We have partners across the nation that are HSIs for sure. Our platform is very easy to toggle between English and Spanish. So that's for the user, and then also for the administrative panel access. So anybody on your team or staff that wants to see the information can very instantly click a button and move from Spanish to English. especially if you're talking with families or, have family members that don't, that would like to see it in Spanish or are more comfortable with that medium. So it's so easy to provide that access. And we have even done some additional tools that we can give to our HSI partners to help facilitate those conversations as well.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to pass this over to Katie, but just one quick note that we will be sending out an access code for you all to try VitaNavis, and then we'll be sending out all the information that we've talked about. So thank you, Katie.
Yes, thank you all. I want to just mention a quick recap and a quick reminder with the NACCE Myers-Briggs partnership. As a NACCE member, you will receive a free demo site with access to the tools that were mentioned today, as yourself as an administrator and from a user experience. So a lot of your questions that are, is there multiple languages? How easy is it to use? All of that is free when you're a NACCE member. That also, through the membership, it will also give you a discount on a long-term contract. So if you're deciding that you like the demo site and your team is on board and the school is on board and you want to take it to the next step for a longer term relationship, there's also a discount built in as well through this partnership. And the last thing is the professional development that is provided. As part of this partnership, the professional development was crucial to be sure that you're using the tool, understanding the tool, and hear from other leaders how the tool is being used. So you heard from 2 examples today, but there are many, many other ways of using this for all populations of students and faculty and staff. So we're really urging everyone to take advantage of this opportunity. I have up on my screen right now easy ways to get started, to learn about the partnership, as well as to get membership information. If you want to jump in and learn more from the Myers-Briggs team, like I mentioned earlier, please go to www.nacce.com, click on partners, and then just get started today. If you're interested in a membership to get started so that you can go through this partnership and receive these offerings, please go to nacce.com. You can click halfway on join now and then just get started. There's pricing information and what your membership includes. If you just have general questions and want to email me direct, my name is calabrese@nacce.com. I want to thank our panelists, our organizations, and our schools for speaking today, providing all of the best practices and some really great words of wisdom to everyone. I want to thank you for your time and preparation in today's call. And I also, on behalf of NACCE, want to thank the Myers-Briggs Company for opening their tools, their resources during such a strange time that we're in, and partnering with NACCE to provide all of you these wonderful tools and resources for everyone to take it to the next level. So have a great day. Thank you all for joining in. I appreciate your time and effort. This webinar is now concluded.